questions?
We're here.
My brother's back. He's been off 2 weeks, so the strategy is different. You guys know you've been here. He's gonna sit in, see how his body feels. Here, hold that. Let me finish.
Okay. All right.
I'm gonna go ahead and drink this.
Yeah, Paul has not been very well, so he was a little sick. He just was running around after the freeze and got a little exhausted.
They're walking around, right? Yeah, out here people walk early.
All right.
Yep. Yeah, that's every morning. What Paul's talking about, people out getting a workout. Every morning, man, people out. It's nice and balmy. It feels like 19 or 20 Celsius. It's nice warm weather. But it's a cool one. I wore my base layer with this.
Yeah, I have a base layer.
Because it's, yeah, and that's the thing. As long as it's winter around here, even though the temperature goes up, you still have to wear a base layer.
That's her.
Yeah, she's probably going back and forth.
There's a lady down there Paul's talking
about. It's still cool.
She's on the corner right there. She's been doing loops.
Feels weird to just be wearing regular gloves again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw the video you did, man. It made me cold. Guess what?
It was cold. Well, the start, but it warmed up. It was in the 50s when I was done, almost 60.
Yeah.
Yeah, it warmed up nicely. But it started out cold. It was at freezing when I started.
He's talking about last week's ride solo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He said he saw me and looked cold.
No question about it.
Doing good.
And you're right on the left there. So people out and about around here, that's normal. Everybody's out doing stuff early. On this ride, Paul and I left Northampton. We rode into the woodlands. We picked up Team RR. We took Research Forest. We met our WCC there. We went past Research Forest 1488, Mount Magnolia, 149. There was a lot of spray because the roads were damp. Right there, we let the group go for a bit and we rode back, caught up on in Gary. Did Spring Branch Road, lots of action on Spring Branch Road. Paul let the group go on Spring Branch Road because he's been off like a couple of weeks and he wasn't well, so he didn't want to spend too much time in the red zone. We went through the forest after we left the group, and then we came back on 149 to Hidden Forest Road, all the way back out to 1097, went past Taco Corner, went behind the high school on Old Plantersville Road, took Spring Branch Road back out to 149, and then Keenan cut off to Grand Lake Estates. All of that's off camera. We got some really good clips with lots of action, lots of interval training while in the group. I think you will enjoy the clips that we got for you.
It's been 4 weeks or so.
It's Austin, guys. Come on, Austin, let's go. Let's do this. You saw her now, right? That's her now over there.
Yeah.
We're rolling out a Crust pizza.
I actually haven't. I mean, since August 2019, and I did this ride like 4 times. So I got a little annoyed with some people there. And so yeah.
They got about three to five guys that ride together. Fabian, Mo, then they got Christian's joined them now, but then Jesus and Jerry. That's the core group.
Yeah.
The group has shrunk.
Yeah, it used to be like 20, 25.
No, it's nowhere near that. That's rare now. They lost, what's her name, Katie. Katie stopped riding with them. Something's going on.
Katie's she trains now, man.
Oh, she does? You see her?
Yeah, I see her in.
Watch this guy.
Yeah. I follow her. She follows me, and she's been promoting her training.
Okay. So she's back training, huh? But for a while, she wasn't doing a whole lot. Watch that tire thing. Don't go over it. Those little wires can stick in your tire. I'm on the road, my brother.
Yeah. I see it.
to know Katie's back riding.
Yeah, she's riding.
Somebody dropped all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
We're talking about the WCC group. Austin on the right there in the blue used to ride with them. He said he got annoyed with a few people, so he backed off from riding with them. That's what started our conversation about Katie. Just group ride dynamics. That's Doug Martin behind Paul. That's the team vibe right to the right. That's Hernan on the left in a white jersey there. There's Neville back there, further back, and Greg shot on the back left in red. So I found out that Paul had been off the bike since the freeze. You know, he wasn't feeling great. He was running around doing all kinds of stuff. So this is his first ride back in a couple of weeks. So I told him to just sit in and see how your body feels. We brought our mud guards. Paul called it when we were leaving. He said when he was driving over to the house, the roads were damp. And it was a great call because I wasn't even going to cover my shoes because it's nice and warm. 17 Celsius, but it feels warmer. It feels close to 20 C. It's a warm 17 Celsius. The weather has since turned around and it's cooler today as I do this commentary. But so I kept telling him, man, great call because we covered our shoes, we put on the mud guards because a couple of weeks ago when the roads were supposed to be dry, it ended up being wet and we just got all dirty. So we were able to keep ourselves clean. But we ended up letting the group go for a bit. You will see that because we just kept getting sprayed and I was getting all dirty and getting water on my face and everything. It's just what I was like, I don't need this. So we let them go until we got to Spring Branch Road. They waited on the corner and Spring Branch Road was dry. So it was a better ride once we got there. But you shouldn't feel obligated to sit in the spray of another rider. Because what we do here, if it gets wet, we let them go. I tried to tell Hernan to stay out of the water, but he kept doing that Euro style where you lean on the bars when you're going at the front, and he had very little control, so he kept drifting in the water, and it just kept spraying me. You will see that develop because even before he started pulling, we were dodging sprays on 149, but the road's damp and the water gathers by the white line. So we just let him go till we got the dry pavement. I didn't think they were going to wait, and I wasn't chasing back up to them. I just let them go. That's more than them on the left there. That's the WCC group we're talking about. They start from the Ash Lane YMCA, which is south of this road. And they're heading out. They're going to use the old Honey Egypt road we found out from Mo. When I pointed to them, Mo said, let's catch him, let's catch him. And Mo's always playing around. Mo loves riding his bike. It's good to see them. It's always good to see those guys. We'll join them later in the year. But right now with our training up and down, we're not ready to spend so much time in Zone 4. We did a good workout with these guys today though, so it ended up being a harder ride than we had planned. Even on Strava it said you rode harder than your usual effort. But once we got on dry pavement, after we let them go, it was like time to play. You'll see all of that. So it was like we did a lot of interval training on this ride, which is why I titled it Cycling Intervals. Spent a lot of time in Zone 4. You see Mo put his hands up back there. You'll see the camera, and he'll put his arm up in the air right there. That's Mo. In a little bit, Mo will come up and do a guest chat with Paul. I'm in front, but I can hear him when he comes up when they're talking. That's Mo.
Should we do a guest appearance? Yes. Of course.
Maurizio Topini. Topo.
They're just
Mo is
going
a
as far
former
as the taco corner
professional
and
bicycle
back.
racer from
Edward
Italy.
and I are gonna go far. So
He
where you
raced
guys
with the
going?
likes of Francesco Casagrande, Michele Bartoli, and all those boys.
Tri-Lakes.
Oh, okay.
You know, trying to get spring break.
How many guys do you have in your group this morning? 10?
That's how a pro looks on a bike, guys. You don't see him moving all over.
Yeah.
He's entrenched in the saddle, just the legs.
I gotta
We're gonna sit in the back for a little while, so we don't accept. Are y'all going out this way?
Yeah, we're gonna follow that way. But I wanted to get some of the guys on the field.
Oh yeah, go
So
ahead.
bring them off.
So what Mo is
guys.
asking is that whether we're going to go the same way they're going. We're going straight at the corner, and they're going to go right on Egypt Lane. That's Dave up there in the blue,
Hey,
and that's
how are you, man?
Jesus with the same kit as Mo. That's the WCC kit. That's our local race team. Mo still dabbles in the Masters racing,
It's a
50
huge
plus. This is Doug shot on the right here. His brother Greg ends up riding with us. Doug is riding with the WCC
Hey,
boards
Doug.
today.
How are you, man? I'm good, Paul. Haven't seen you for a while.
So Mo and Jesus pulled to the left because we're going straight, and they're turning right. So they pulled to the left so we can
All
go
right, take
straight.
care.
And they're turning right over there to go. They're going in the same direction but taking a different route. We're taking a more circuitous route today, which I like. There are a lot of hills on this route. It ended up being a little messier than we expected. See, it's dry here, but once we get out there, the roads are wet. So we end up letting them go for a bit, and then
All
we
right,
cut
guys.
back to Spring Branch Road where it's dry.
Hey, man. I stay back there to talk to Mo a little bit.
Standing on the side of you and Austin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was listening. I heard some of it.
I said, yeah, let me just get to some of the guys. Where are you guys going? It was a cool.
That's cool, man. Mama.
Oh, yeah.
Mama's riding his Tomasini.
Yeah.
Put it on Strava.
Yeah.
Like I have,
Yeah,
Mo
I got
has an
all
old
of them,
Italian
and then-
bike made by Tomasini
Let them go.
with the chrome fork and everything. And he took it out earlier in the week. He posted it
Jerry there?
on his
No,
Strava
Jerry
page.
wasn't there.
Okay. Are we going right or straight?
I asked him how many in your group. He said about 10.
That's a good size.
Yeah.
So someone went and pushed the light. That's why I was asking. I think it was Bob that pushed the button so this light
Yeah, he
can
said,
change.
where you guys going? I
Yeah,
said,
that's
they're
fine.
going to Taco Corner and back.
So the light can
We
change.
might
We
go
don't have a
farther,
car
so
behind us.
We might see you down there.
Yeah, so Mo's always
He said
happy
they're
to
gonna
see
go
other
take,
cyclists.
Honey
Mo's a
Egypt.
big
Yeah, I heard
ambassador
that.
of the sport.
He was on the Tomasini. Somebody took a good shot. It's an action shot.
Yeah.
It's on Strava in the picture. It looked good. I've heard about the ride.
He's very concerned about the growth of
Yeah.
cycling in the area, and how racing has kind of died down, and with the pandemic, things are just kind of dead.
Watch out.
They were doing a lot of construction. That's a sewer line they put under there. That's why there's a mud there. Once they're done, hopefully it'll be nice and smooth.
That's a good shot.
I heard
You gotta watch that before you do that. That'll inspire you.
So this
No, I
is
heard
where we
like
started encountering
a
death
siren.
roads.
I thought it was
It's on 20 on 78 somewhere.
Yeah, Paul had heard a siren. There was a siren going off, and
trying to
sometimes the
sneak through the
officers would
light.
turn on a siren
They do
to
that.
get
Turn
through
it
the
on,
light.
get through the light and turn it off. Careful.
If
It's a
they're
big
going
damn
somewhere in a
thing.
hurry,
Yeah.
but they don't want to disturb everybody because they're not close to where
Yeah.
they need to be. So they'll turn it on,
you're going
get through the
fast.
light,
Yeah.
turn it
And
off,
it's slick.
just to keep moving.
Yeah, we'll whip that back tire real fast.
Yeah, in that corner, I told him to slip because it's damp, and we're starting to
I saw
notice that
Hernan in the
you know.
parking lot. Is he here?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, he's with us.
I was asking him
He's
whether
always
Hernan was
quiet.
here. He said,
I don't
yeah.
know what the route is, but he mentioned Taco Corner, so they're gonna go what?
They're gonna
Jackson?
Yeah, they're gonna go. He said they're gonna go 1488.
149.
Yeah, 149, and then go. He said we're gonna go through What is that? A branch crossing? What, that road that we always go with the high. I can.
In order to go to Spring Branch, they'll have to stay on 149 and turn right.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, that's what he said.
Okay.
And then
That's Spring Branch.
We're
Spring
discussing the
Branch,
route.
right? Spring Branch, and then go to Taco Corner that way.
Lone Star Parkway.
Yeah, Lone Star Parkway, and then heading back.
Yeah.
That's what he said.
We gotta go into the forest.
Yeah.
Come out this far.
No, what Paul and I are talking about is we come out this far, we're gonna visit the forest. We don't get the luxury of coming out during the week, so when you come out on the weekend, you gotta make it count. And this area that we ride in, there aren't too many areas to turn around unless you go out and back. Once you get far enough, it's 3 hours out, and then coming back is 3 hours, so you get 6 hours without even thinking about it. So while Paul was laying out, Paul always gets Spring Branch mixed up with Branch Crossing because both areas we ride, Branch Crossing is in the woodlands. It's because of the branch, so sometimes you get it all
When you guys
twisted.
pass, I put the
I used to
camera
do
like
the same
this and
thing.
point it out to them.
He's talking about when he filmed the WCC group at the corner, he pointed out the group.
He said, let's do guest appearance.
Yeah, that was cool. I didn't see Christian.
No, I didn't see Christian either. I saw Jesus, Fabian, and Darsha.
I think it was that. I think
Yeah, Darsha is running with it.
okay.
But I think his brother is.
Yeah, I
with
didn't
us.
see Doug. He shows up on the clips here, but when we're actually there, he was behind and I was in front. So Doug's brother is riding with us, Greg. Greg is the one that had certain, I don't know if they're beta blockers or whatever his doctor gave him. It does not allow him to get his heart rate up. So he's having trouble riding hard. And you see him let us go on Spring Branch Road on the hill. When we got to the steepest pitch and people started attacking, he just held his pace. So there are certain medication you take that will impact your body's ability to ride hard. Don't try to force yourself if that's the case with you. Just ride steadier and stay in the lower zone.
I'll be obliged to go.
I can tell you the chartreuse that I wore last week.
Yeah.
This road is called Tamina. It's just a little cutoff that gets us to 1488 right up
It
there.
ran all the ink, I mean the dye.
Into
Into the
chartreuse?
inside of my chartreuse. I cleaned it off.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna wear it anymore because the dye runs.
Yeah.
So when you ride,
We get behind this car here because even though Bob and them were in front, we weren't there. And a lot of times it's kind of
So Melissa said, well,
rude
just wear it when you
to
wear
get in
black.
front of the car
So I said, yeah, I
with
guess
your
that's the
mates
time we use. I
if
said,
they're in line. It's almost like you're
I
cutting
don't
in
like to
line.
wear tights that
Some
have no
drivers
pads anyway.
take exception
It's just
to
you got
that.
an
So we
extra
just say,
thing that can chafe.
Yep.
So I told her, I said, she said, because I was like, what are you gonna throw it away? I said, no, I'll keep it, but one day it will be cold. I can just wear it around here doing something, working in the yard or whatever. She said, oh, okay.
Look at the dog inside. Barking. Inside.
there's a dog in that car barking at us, so I start messing with him.
Short light.
This light has a protected left,
Once that's over, you can still turn.
and then it goes to an unprotected turn. The driver on the other side coming out of the parking lot is I think it's an HEB or Kroger. I think it's an HEB. Well, he stops to let us go, so we just go ahead and go because he has the right of way, but he gave it up, so we all were able to get through the turn. That was nice and courteous of him. So right here, I hear Austin's brakes right there. He said, "You got it," but I heard him. I could see him out the side of the corner of my eye. I go ahead and tell him to go up. I want to give Paul my rear wheel so that he doesn't get sprayed on because I have a feeling that some of these roads we've already encountered some dampness.
That's headline right there.
Yeah, they have the gravel at the intersections and the overpass. Everywhere else, they didn't put it.
I rode this road last Saturday. I did not film this road
Stopping, that kind of stuff.
on my solo ride, so I'm letting Paul know where the gravel
Road here,
is heaviest.
Saturday. Okay.
Bridge was a mess.
Really?
On Magnolia,
Yeah.
it was wet. There was ice still on the side. You saw me film Fish Street.
Yeah.
I didn't have the camera on for that one. It was just the same. Ice, and then all those little rocks. So I used the whole length.
So what I explained to Paul was that last week, Mount Magnolia, which is coming up in about probably 6 kilometers, was full of gravel and it had ice. So I used the entire right lane to get up that climb. They put the gravel at the corners because that's where people are slowing down and turning. It gives more traction, that's all it does. A little more traction than not having it.
Careful with those, man.
I stay right next to the white line because there's a lot of gravel in that corner and other stuff. This is the cleanest spot to ride on. We're riding up to this guy. We're doing probably close to 40K. Yeah, there you go, 42 kilometers. My computer, the speed unit I'm using to work with the power meter on this particular road, I think there's a high percentage of microwave signals or something around here. This is an equestrian center on the right, that fence you see. So on this particular stretch, my speed unit always fluctuates wildly. We're riding around 25 miles an hour, 23 to 25 this entire stretch. Once we get further out of town, then it settles down, but it always has interference whenever I come out. There's just certain areas. I think it's, the security systems, all of that, they interfere. That's Neville on the right. That's Greg Shot on the left.
Yeah.
Red jersey.
That's why you have to stay tight.
What Mark's talking about, he said there are some jackrabbits up here. He said, I'll put Eldred in that category. He's talking about Hernan and then I think Austin. I don't do a lot of accelerations in this group like racing style that often. I usually will chase up to somebody or get to the front, take long pulls. Hernan in the white jersey just likes to get to the front and he keeps lifting the pace. And it's fun, but it breaks up the group, because we're at different levels. That's what Mark's talking about. Right now we've got Tim up there and I believe Doug and Bob and them sitting at the front. What ends up happening, you will see on 149, when Hernan goes to the front, he lifts the pace. Bob says, oh, he's going too fast, and he hits his hip. And I go around him and ride up to them because Mark and Hernan are off the front. But I don't know why he didn't go with him because, I don't know if because of the marshal, but I think he said basically, oh, he's going too fast or something like that. So he left a gap that we had to close, no big deal. But then shortly after that, I end up letting Hernan go because I tried to tell him, stay a little more to the right because the water was sitting by the white line once we turned on 149 going east. Just too much spray. I got a splatter of mud in my face. It was all on my jersey, my helmet, everything. And I just pulled out and told. And then Paul came around. I told him, you need to let him go because he's just going to spray the camera. And you're going to be messing with that with climbing and all that. So we let them go for a few kilometers and then we caught back up with them on Spring Branch Road. Spring Branch Road was completely dry. And then the hammer really went down. So I think you all will enjoy this. So yes, don't feel obligated to stay in a group and get it sprayed. When it's raining, it's better to just ride by yourself or ride with riders that have mud guards. Period. There's no point in you putting on your nice kit, putting on mud guards on your bike and coming out and getting sprayed by other riders who are negligent. For some reason around here, most of the serious riders do not have mud guards on their bikes. I don't understand it. Even Mo posted on his Strava that it was a muddy ride. He was all dirtied up from their ride because they rode on the same roads we rode on. So yeah, you get dirty. It's one thing if you're in competition, but on a training ride, why not snap on some mud guards? They just work. They're not going to keep the bike crystal clean because they're not full mud guards. I've explained before in some other videos. But they keep you clean. That's why we let them go. So I didn't come out here to get dirty. The stuff was all in my face, on my glasses. It's a mess. Because that rooster tail goes up and then the wind hits it. So it gets on your shoulders. So Paul was saying, he said, I could see the dirt on your shoulders from the back, the upper part of my shoulder. So that's Doug Martin on the right there. Doug Martin pulled off and Tim pulled off with him. Tim does not want to pull. That's fine. That's an option you can use too if you don't want to pull. We're riding around 37, 39, let's say, well, 25, 26 miles an hour now. My speedometer's fluctuating, but we're in the 40s as far as kilometers. This is faster than this group normally rides. So when Hernan shows up, he lifts the pace, but he's not the one pulling right now. I believe it might be Mike S5 at the front. I have to confirm that. This road goes slightly up. It's a slope. We have a bit of a tailwind behind us, but it's not very heavy right now. You can even see my bandana's not lifting that much. That's a good gauge I use, because when it's windy, that thing flaps around. I'm wearing a bandana versus a cycling cap because it's 18 Celsius, and it's a warm 18 Celsius. It feels closer to 20, 21. I had to unzip my jersey a bit. I have a light base layer, the Rafa protein base layer on with this kit, my Aero jersey. That's Austin letting me know he wants to come in. I pretty much already expected that. That's a nice gesture because it's just courteous. But when you're riding and someone's sitting over there, I know he was chatting with her now for a while, and then the pace has picked up and he wants in. So you just kind of soft pedal for a bit, leaving up room for him to slip in. But he made sure he let me know so there would be no surprise. Even though I expected him to want to get in, because I was already backing off before he pointed to the space. But you can't assume the other rider in my position would know what you want to do. That's why he pointed. I'm using a slightly larger gear because I'm sitting in the pace line. I don't want to hit my brakes right away, so I just roll to the right.
I would have dropped you guys if it wasn't for the light.
Bob talking nonsense. He was the one pulling, I guess. Greg's shot dropped the chain right here. So all we heard was the exclamation. We did not know what was going on, so that's why we're coasting. I don't particularly like clipping much, so I'm asking what the deal is. Paul said he didn't hear it. Fernand's waiting here. We just rolled softly because we know there's nobody stopping back there. Greg shot dropped his chain, so he's putting it back on, and so we didn't have to come to a complete stop. So we just kind of coast. Those mud guards really make a difference in the woods way.
I don't know.
Protect your feet in the front and protect your rear in the back. And the rider following you. Okay, so Neville telling me that Greg dropped his chain, because I asked him. That's Greg on the left who dropped his chain. So if your chain drops, what that says is two things. You need, when you get home, you need to get it adjusted, because that means either your limit screw is off, or
I think someone put it in the wrong jet.
you have
Yep.
like the angle. Sometimes the real difficult angle, but mostly it's an adjustment thing. You need to tighten up that adjustment on the front rear. That's what it caused the chain to drop. But I think, well, I heard a lot of noise on the load, and I think he shifted while he wasn't moving, and when the light changed, it just put a lot of stress on the drivetrain. But you definitely need to check that. Dropping chain is not the
Good, man.
What'll happen if your limit screws are not set properly. I set my mud guard to accommodate up to a 28mm tire. So regardless of the size of the tires on my wheels, I don't have to modify it. So right now, I think that's a 25 on the back or 23, something like that. So there's plenty of space. You can see the clearance. It's all uniform. It looks good when you look from the side. There's something in my shoe I'm not happy with on my left foot, so I'm wiggling it to get it to feel right. I think the dump move. When you put on a shoe cover, depending on how tight it is, sometimes it affects the feel of your shoe. So what I do is I keep my shoe a little looser than normal, kind of pull my toes in as I strap my shoe together. And then once you put the cover on, it will settle, especially when you're riding, your foot will expand after hours of exercise. So you have to accommodate that. Don't start out with your shoes too tight ever on a ride. It just needs to be snug because your feet will expand. And it's just less for you to mess with. Some shoes have micro adjusters that are easy to do. The shoes I'm wearing are classic shoes and they have strings on them. So they're laced up. So I don't want to mess with them. And that solves that issue. We have the shoe covers primarily, even though it's warm, to keep our shoes clean. It's a lot easier to just take a rag and wipe that shoe cover versus trying to clean my shoe on a day like this. That's another reason to cover your shoes. So we're using a lighter shoe cover today. So you need to have different things in your kit. We have shoe covers for very cold temperatures. We have shoe cover for milder temperatures. And then we have shoe covers for the rain. And then we use the sleeve on our ankles to keep the water from getting inside the top of it. Those little details make a difference. We're heading towards Mount Magnolia. If you notice, I already moved to the right because there is a hole next to the white line that's been there since this road was built. After this intersection, it's on the left, probably about 100 feet. 30 meters. That's why I'm waving whoever it is. I don't remember exactly where it is, but you can't see around these riders. So I just stay a little to the right because it's on the left. You will see it shortly. You don't want to hit that right there. It's a hole, and they've never filled it. I think when the road was built, some heavy equipment. Doug was pulling out. Doug is the guy I'm talking about. Is taking these beta blockers and things for high blood pressure, and it does not allow him to get his heart rate high, so he doesn't ride fast. He just goes steady. And Doug is a rider that would do RAM events, the Race Across America, that kind of stuff. So it has really put a damper on the stream. But it's good to see him out here. So you have to know what's going on with you. Another reason why you don't celebrate someone getting dropped. He knows what's going on with him. These guys start pushing up the climb. He just gets out of the line so he can keep his pace the same. That's Mike S5 getting off the front. There's a lot of gravel here because of the intersection we just passed. Now it's cleared up, but I'm staying on the clean part of this shoulder. In a little bit we'll come to a light that gets red at the last minute, and it's kind of a three-way because of the dead end on the right here. And so I go ahead and roll in the gravel, but I take the weight off my tires. And the reason I roll in the gravel is so I don't have to brake in the gravel. try to minimize using my brakes. This is all the more reason why people who are pushing disc brakes on road bikes, it's like, unless you're doing a lot of heavy descending, I don't use brakes that much. You let the wind slow you down, especially in the group. Even on a solo ride, how often do you really lock off? And you know, and rim brakes work fine if you have them adjusted right. So if you have discs on your bike, that's great. They do require more care. I prefer the rim brakes personally. This is where I roll in the gravel. I take the weight off. Paul rolls to the left, check with his mirror because everybody's stopping. We don't want to hit the brakes. But since it's a dead end there, Austin just goes ahead and goes through. That road goes to a little farm on the right. There's a runner on the left here. So I temper my effort here. I'm not trying to catch those guys. I'm just going to ride back up to them. I'm making sure we have a line going again. They're about a couple of car lengths up. I'm using my mirror to keep my eyes on everybody. The group is not really together yet. Now Paul is getting closer. They're on his wheel. You see all the gravel? It was worse last Saturday. They put this here because these bridges and overpasses freeze first. And they're the last to thaw. So this is where they put the gravel so the drivers can have more traction when it's icy. So there's a lot of gravel in the shoulder. I'm gonna stay on the road. I think it gets cleaner. I think the drivers have been riding close to the line. But last week it was all over the place. I was just using the bridge. As we go up this climb, you see all the gravel there? I hear somebody riding in the gravel, and you will see me wave. It's not for Paul. There's somebody about a bike lane behind Paul riding in the gravel when all of us are here. And that's the kind of nonsense that can cause a flat, then we gotta wait for them. So that's what I'm doing. I'm like, get over it. Because that's the stuff that wastes our time. And in my mind, I'm thinking, if you're gonna ride over there when you have a flat, I'm not waiting for it. That's exactly what I'm thinking. Because that makes no sense. There's a reason we're all riding here. We have the lane. So why would you ride over there? Look at the thickness of that gravel. And it's not only gravel, there's a lot of crap in there that can cause a puncture. Guys go out of their way to have a flat. I don't understand that. I want to ride and stand on the side of the road messing with it. Austin pulls off the front. Mark takes over. As we descend, because these bridges are the last to thaw, of course, when it rains, they store water in certain spots. So it must have rained here recently, probably before daybreak. At the bottom of the climb, the turn is wet. And you got wet, and then you've got a white line. This white line continues as the road turns. It's like a U-turn to come back on yourself the other way. And you will see me let everybody know by motioning with my hands. I mean, I can take the corner, but I'm concerned about the people following us. You will see me put my hand out right there, and I'm letting them know, take it easy. But then Mark takes off, even though he gave the warning first. And I'm like, I could go with him, but you fall on a road like this concrete has ridges in it for traction, and that's where you will leave a lot of skin. So I just keep riding. There's no point to taking any risks. Because normally I like that corner, but I'm not just concerned about what I'm doing. I'm concerned about the other riders. That's Hernan on my right there.
seconds, it goes back, it's clear. I look in my mirror, I move over. The mirror just works. It just works. I love it. As I've said before, I wish I had it decades ago. I wish I had put it on the bike. I still look back periodically, but it's very, very infrequent.
Until I'm about 12 inches from the ground.
Yep.
But that was slippery, yeah. That was pretty,
Put water on it.
yeah.
You can hear.
What we're talking about is that I said if you fall in that corner, you leave some skin. So you hear me say, better him than me.
That's like tollfish and the friction, don't fail me now.
This is FM 149. I'm not sure if it's a farm to market road or just a highway. This is the one that gets a little messy now. In a little while you will see I'm start dodging spray. I'll go right, they'll go right, I go left, they go left. I'm trying to stay out of the spray because this shoulder is damp. If you look at my tire, you will see a little bit of a white streak on the pavement. That's the moisture. Just you can see something like it's spreading. That's how you know the road's wet. Paul doesn't have to be concerned about it because I got my mud guards on. If everybody had mud guards, then we could ride together in the group regardless. So I put up with it for a while, and then when we get up further on the eastern direction of it, I'll go ahead and let them go because it just gets too bad. The road kept getting wetter and wetter. You can hear the wind. We're going directly into the wind, so we're working 37, 38 kilometers an hour. It's about 23, 24 miles an hour. At this point, I'm at the top of zone 2. The road goes up and down here. There's a lot of debris. I'm putting the power down here. You see my watts go up a bit. These are good roads to get a good workout on. That's why we like to go north, up and down. Because you get to work. You get to work your legs. You feel it. You don't need any gadgets when you come out here. You can just come out and just ride the terrain. And if you really focus, you get back, you know you've done a great workout. Upgraded our software. I upgraded the software this weekend to a new version of the editing tool, which has improved dubbing capabilities. It's more realistic, so you're probably hearing the conversations easier. At this point, you heard all the conversation with Mo and everybody. It's a lot easier to hear. The wind is a lot more realistic with the new tools they have in there. So it's sounding closer to reality. I really like that. This is what we heard. That's why you can't talk easily when it's windy. It's closer and closer. They continue to improve it. Professional editing tools are really necessary to have to put out the best stuff. You see the camera has sprays on it. That's what I'm experiencing right now. And somehow it's coming around me. You see me moving to the left? I'm trying to stay off Hernan's wheel because everywhere he is, he's spraying me. My arm, the sleeves on my jersey got dirty. I really hate that because I had to manually wash that when I got home. See me cleaning my shorts? That's the mud. The cool thing about the Rafa shorts is that with the material, it doesn't stick on there. It's just so you can just brush it off. But the jersey, it gets on there like a stain. So you really have to wash it specifically when you get home. I just wash it in the sink. But besides that, it's like it's getting on your face. You know, I've got my glasses on, which is great. But you see what's happening in the camera.
So when I go right, they go right. I go left, they go left. And we're just riding and then stuff. And I'm like, okay, how long is this going to continue? See, I moved to the right to stay out of the way. But then Paul was telling me when I moved to the right, he's getting hit. You know, you can see the road's damp. Doesn't look like much, but it is. It's coming off their wheels. Even Hernan gets tired of it, so he goes to the front in a little while to pull. Because if you're pulling, you don't have to worry about getting sprayed. I back off a bit. I'm not really driving. So he moved to the left because he's on the right. I'm trying to stay out of the spray. So it defeats the purpose of being in a group. And after a while, I'm like, you know what? I can just ride solo until the roads dry. My plan was just let the group go. And you hear me tell Paul, let him go. Because Paul comes around me, you know, in a few kilometers when we turn east. It gets worse. The road gets wetter. And it's more spray, and I'm like, you know what? It wasn't supposed to be wet, but it must have rained out here. You can see the clouds. You know, there's not puddles of water on the road. It's just that dampness being picked up by the rear wheel, and it's just spraying us. That's what's on the lens right now. I use my hips to move that bike. That's the way you want to ride. Your bike has to fit. You have more control, comfort, you can generate power, everything. Listen to that wind. This is what we hear when these guys go by. Those of you who ride. That's what it sounds like. And those sounds can bother new riders. The sound of those engines. Some of these jerks will intentionally gun their engines as they go by. I told Paul one time I would love to see an engine blow. If somebody does that, I would stop to laugh. Because they do that on purpose. I had a guy one time on one of the highways pass, and then one of these horns, like, it was like a special horn that he added to his little pickup truck. And I guess that was supposed to startle me. I did not even give him the time of day. But he intentionally blared those aftermarket horns and then looked in his rearview mirror to see what impact it had on me. And I was like stoically riding, like, you know, you're not even on the planet, fool. So Hernan gets tired of being sprayed, so he goes to the front to spray Mark. Now he picked up the pace. See, we're doing 40K. My speedometer is finally working. It doesn't have interference out here. So now Bob is leaving a gap. I can see it. I'm just looking to see what he does. You see, I stayed to the right to stay out of the spray. The gap's gonna open. The road's gonna go up, and they're not gonna back off. There's the gap opening right now. I'm just watching. You'll see Bob tap his hip because he can't go any faster, or doesn't want to, whatever the reasoning is. He does that. I'm like, psst. So I'll go ahead and use my mirror and see that nothing's coming. I end up looking back, and then I move over and take the road. You can see those guys have pulled away. We're coming to an intersection. Then he tells me as I go by, yeah, they're going too fast. That's why you can't limit yourself. You should be able to lift the pace. Just spin the gear faster and stay in the draft. I ride up to them. They're not that far ahead. I stay on the road because it's still clear. I can see in my mirror that nothing's on the highway. We're going to be turning right. Turning right. If you go straight, it's Jackson Road. You turn right, it's the same highway 149. So when we turn here, Hernan and I are at the front. See, I'm cleaning myself off. That's all the muds on my shorts. I hate that. Then Hernan tells me, you guys called it right with your mud guards today. Yeah, I thought it was messing me up, so I tell him to try to stay away from being too close to the white line because you can see it's wet. I don't know if you understood me or not, but anyway, he's from Costa Rica. He doesn't do a lot of talking.
I know.
So I'm telling Paul, we're getting sprayed like crazy. And I'm backing off because I don't want to be in the spray right here. And nobody else wants to come up because for two reasons, the spray and the fact that her and I like to pour it on. So at this point I'm debating. You see the water by the side of the white line? Look at that. You can see that it's just shining. That's where the water is. I'd already told him, I said, stay a little more to the right so you don't pick up that water. But then once he gets going, he leans on his bars and he uses that line for tracking. So he keeps drifting there. So I edited this to where you guys can actually hear what these cars sound like. Because with the new tools that they've added to the software, I want this thing to be as realistic as possible so you get used to these sounds. It's okay when they go by that their engines are noisy. They're very noisy. Even when you're in your car, if you put the window down, other cars going by is loud. The combustion engine is noisy. That's why they put mufflers on them. You know? And so you get used to that and don't let it startle you. New riders have problems with those sounds and different things that go on. And they don't like to use the road. And some of these drivers go by and gun it on purpose because some riders are startled by those noises. So at this point I'm thinking, I don't know, I'm getting sprayed right here. And he's to the right, I stayed to the left, and you see he drifted back. So now I'm picking up even more spray. And at one point we go through just a lot of muck and water, and it was like a splatter on me, and I was like, okay, that's it. It's not so bad here. He's trying his best to stay to the right because that's drier. You can see we're riding right around 38, 39 kilometers an hour. I'm right at the bottom of zone 2 here. I mean zone 4. So he's riding pretty hard. He's riding harder than this group is used to. The three of us are off the front right now. The group is not together. Paul's on my wheel, I'm on Hernan's wheel, and we've gapped the group. This is a little bit low race pace. This is what I talk about is like if you ride this hard, you end up riding alone. So what's the point? So just the three of us off the front. Even Christian said one time he rode with a group. He's like, yeah, we rode away from everybody. He said, but it was boring after that. So right about here, look at the water. You see the water? I don't know where. I think that's where I got the spray. It just splattered me, so I pulled off. And I think I will get behind him a little bit and let him know that I'm not going to follow you anymore. Just keep going. The Paul has come around. I told Paul, I said, let him go because he's just going to splatter your camera. It's a little drier right there, but by this point, I've got stuff in my mouth, my face, and I'm spitting stuff out. It was just like, man, it got all on my face. You get that sand all on your face, the unprotected part, and it was just a mess. So Paul's sitting on it. I end up telling Paul, you better let him go because it's just, he's gonna get you all, and Paul's wearing pink. I think this is where, I don't know when he lets him go, but soon. I'm sitting on Paul's wheel, I'm cleaning myself. So I just got a mouthful of mud. I told him, I said, let him go. Yeah, I said, let him go. Because we need to be, we don't need to be getting the spray. It's just continuing. So we back off, and I tried to get the group to come around us. But we had already gapped them, and they did not want to come around.
No, water. This all the spray. Okay. Go around them.
I told them go around. They're like, I told them go around. It's too much water. That's what's going on. So they come around. Austin comes around, and then Mark. So Hernan rides up to them, and that's Greg.
I told him to temper the pace.
Yeah. I was okay.
So at this point, we're like, you know what? We're gonna back
that's
off
fine.
until the roads dry off. And then, actually, my intent was to not ride with them because I don't want to get
Yeah.
any more mud in my face. The other guys that had been dropped, as we slow down here, to get behind us and to sit on our wheel. So right here, I'll go ahead and do a time lapse. We gave them a few seconds, maybe 20 seconds or so. We just kept riding. And Paul's in front of me, so Paul has mud guards. I'm not getting sprayed. The guys are behind me that caught up. They're not getting sprayed. Even Bob, after the ride, said, I might need to invest in some of the fenders that Paul and Eldred are using. He posted on that group me board. I think everybody should have it. You're gonna ride in the rain. There's no way to keep the group together. It's just a mess. Anyway, we continue to ride. I get in front of Paul because I don't want him sitting here pulling too long since he has been off the bike. And you know, once we get out here, I know how he is. He may want to do more. I said, okay, for us to do more, don't sit in the wind. So I told him to move left and I rolled to the front. So we're just doing our own pace here and just keep riding. I did not expect to hook back up with them, but they end up waiting up there. And the cool thing was that further up the road is nice and dry. But nothing ruins a group ride than sitting in there getting sprayed with mud in your face, you know. I see why the groups in the UK require that people have mud guards. It just makes sense. That's why when it rains, mostly Paul and I just ride solo. Those of you who have seen some of the videos on the channel, most of the rainy rides is just he and I. So we don't have to worry about getting dirt. So my entire front is full of just the spots, all the mud spots, you know. The shorts resist it better than the jersey does, you know. But there's no point. Is that if I weren't wearing glasses, it would have been a pain. It gets in your eyes. I keep the power right around the effort, right around the top of zone 3, close to the sweet spot. We got a couple of guys back there that had gotten dropped on 149. Bob, who had tapped his hip when they pulled away from it. So there's no point in pushing the pace when somebody is struggling and they get back. That's all the crap on my hands. I mean, my computer had dirt on it, the front of the bike, everything, brake goods. So the cool thing is it dries quickly and you can just brush it off. And that's the smart thing Hernan did, was he went to the front and started to pull. I really should have just stayed off his wheel from the get-go when we turned. But I wasn't expecting the road to be that wet. Because the forecast had said it was cloudy all through the night. You know, you get these little showers that happen. Doesn't take much. It's like a mud bag. So when we stopped on the way back at one of the stores, we used the tissue they had there to clean our shoe cover, because you can just dust it off and clean off your leg. I hate having that stuff on my skin. You don't know what's in it. So as we approach Keenan Cutoff here, Doug Martin and what's his name, Neville, they're back there. They turn right. I'm not aware at this point. They turn right to go back. And that's the thing about this area. You got very few areas where you can turn, so sometimes you got to cut the ride shorter than you plan. Because if you miss that turn, then you're stuck. Because there's no other turn until you get to 105, even if you stayed on this highway. So only Bob is on our wheel. I think he's telling Paul that Doug turned. I stayed on the road because of that garbage can. This one house always leaves it there. And I checked the mirror, nothing was coming. And you will see it's a little tricky to turn. You see, look at my wheel, there's water on it. You see my tire? There's moisture on that pavement. I'm still cleaning off the stuff. I hate that. I'm using my fingers to avoid my gloves getting dirty. You can just brush them off. They dry pretty quickly. Just, you know, mud spots. So we're going up, we're doing the same route that they had talked about, you know, what you heard Paul and I discussing. We're gonna go left in about maybe 500 meters on Spring Branch Road. Right here, this road kicks up. This 149 is a tough road to ride. It's up and down. Anywhere between 3 to 5%. You get a good workout on this road. It's busy, but it's a challenge. If you look at my tire, you can see the moisture is displacing. But right when we turn on Spring Branch Road, it's bone dry. That's those tires, the tire that peel off of these cars. You don't want to roll over them. They have wires in them that can embed in your tires. The tread that peels off of vehicles. The turn is coming up. I'm looking in the mirror. We got a line of cars back there. So there's no gap for us to use the turn. That's what I'm looking at. I'm looking in the mirror. And see how easy, just glance down, you can see everything. So I'll go ahead and slow down, and then one guy slowed down briefly when I'm about to turn, then he speeds up. You'll see me turn and then go back. Try to turn right here, right there, and then I go back because he sped up after slowing down. So I just go ahead and wait. I think I end up unclipping. I'm like, this guy's not serious. He had slowed down. So you can study all of that in the mirror. I'm like, man, I love the mirror. Then we see that these guys are standing on the corner here. This is Spring Branch Road, and it's dry. I just keep riding because Mark's standing over there and Paul's here.
Yeah. Want a drink? I'm good.
He asked Paul if you want a drink. Well, I need a drink. Paul got 2 bottles on the bike.
Let's go.
Well, I had told Mark that Paul was sick, so that's probably why he asked. I keep rolling, and I'm just rolling. That's a downhill. I'm not even pedaling. I'm just coasting. When you're leaving this area the other way, it's a nice little bump to climb to get out of there. So I just coast. I'm waiting for them. So this road is completely dry. I'm like, okay, great. So yeah, so it sucks riding in the group with no mud guards. So we're on Spring Branch Road. It's nice and dry. I'm just waiting. You see my speed is dropping. I'm not even pedaling. So Mike S5 rides up to me, and I'm waiting for them to get going again. It's like a hiatus here. So Bob was the one that was on our wheel back there. He was the one that let them go after he said the guy was going too fast. If you look at their jerseys, they're dirty. Mark's middle, you can't see the shorts very well here, but there's a patch down the middle of the shorts where the water has gathered, and that's what we avoid because that's uncomfortable. So they come by, and I just slip to the back here. I'm still cleaning. My stem's dirty. I mean, the thing got everywhere. It was like somebody put mud in a blower and just went up in the air. That's what that rooster tail does. That's what we call it, rooster tail, because it spins up and then the wind catches it and just spreads it. Now there are a couple of dogs here, and I'm going to show just the danger of what we talk about. These dogs are like kids. They don't know what they're doing. They're having fun. They see something moving. There they are. Watch, I stopped the film here. Look, he ends up cutting off Hernan, and that's how you can cause a crack right there. That's how you can cause a crack. And these owners in that house, they need to be more responsible for these dogs. Now this dog wiped out, so Mark was teasing him. Say, hey, you wiped out.
Yep.
The dog slipped on the grass because of the moisture on the grass. The roads are dry, but the grass is still wet, so it must have rained out here too.
On a roll.
Mark's still talking about the dog.
Yeah.
The dog fell. You don't see that very often. But that's what you have to avoid. Don't
Yeah,
let them
I know.
get in front of you. And if they do get in front of you, you got to be ready to stop, because that if your front wheel hits them and you're not holding onto it very well, you can definitely go down. They can cause crashes, because they're not really necessarily trying to bite you. They're trying to chase that moving object. They hear the chain and all of that sometimes before you even get there. You know, and owners just need to keep their dogs secure.
I know.
It's just been something recent on this road lately. The problem with that is those dogs might get hit by a car running out there like that one of these times. You know, and it's unfortunate for the poor dog that they have an irresponsible owner. Most of these other homes, their dogs are secure. They got fences that keep the dog in, so the dogs run in the fence. I will show you another home that has 3 or 4 dogs, and they can't get out of their fence, so they just run along the fence. Well, you don't have to worry about your dog causing someone to fall or getting hit by a car or anything like that. That's, you know, there's a lot of liability there. I'm telling Paul, so that's what we need in Houston. You drive that tractor in traffic.
Yeah.
Let's see who cuts you off there. So like every group ride, there's a hiatus right here. So at this point, you take a drink, you know, you eat, you do whatever. I think I see a dog up there. I think I see another dog. So something on the road. But this is when you basically make sure you're ready for the next time the pace picks up. And this is going to happen when we hit that hill.
That's really dirty, man.
Yeah, well, I'm dirty.
Yeah. I saw you looking. I was like,
Forget it. Much I could tell. So I just got tired. When it got in my face, I was like, enough.
Yeah, we're talking about, you know, how dirty we got, you know.
yeah,
why
I
we
was
had to
wiping
pull
the
out.
camera the whole time.
Yeah, the water was about a white line.
Yeah.
I told him, and he kept drifting to the white line.
So we hit the base of this climb here, and usually, like in any group, this is where people get excited. So we're sitting on the back here, and we end up paying the price. That's why I talk about sometimes the back is not the best place to be. The guys that start to go, I think Mike S5 is up front. You can see Mark here in the white jersey. Austin, that put the power down. Look at my watch. I'm behind, and I'm having to catch up. So, being the old dog I am, I'm using a moderate gear. Look at my cadence, because I know this is a long climb. It may say 6% at the most on the display, but it gets to like 9%. And it's long. So we're still climbing here. You can see there's a gap to the camera, Paul. He's riding back up. All of that takes effort. So what I do is I shift up, drop my cadence, and put it in a large gear because I know the power's got to stay up. And what I'm doing is I'm basically using muscular strength to ride up, and then I'll shift down because we've got about 6 kilometers before this road is over. I've already caught up to them. You can see my power's in the 2s, but I had to go 900 and something watts just to catch up to them because I was too far behind when they started. So you have to be close to the people that are making the effort. I didn't expect them to go as hard as they did on this climb. I thought they were just lollygagging, but it is what it is. But you have to train your engine to where you can go full gas, sit in, and still be able to continue the effort. So at this point, I believe Paul is the last rider in the group here. He's on my wheel. The rest of those guys have gotten dropped. Bob got dropped on that climb. Doug, who does not go hard because of, you know, the medication he's taking, he got dropped. The power's on again, and all I'm doing is just working whatever gear I'm in. Because I've been off for about a week, I believe Sunday was the last time I rode. So almost 6 or 7 days. My legs felt fresh, but I just felt like, meh, you know. I was telling Paul until 4 hours into this ride before I started feeling like my old self. But it doesn't really matter. We ride often enough to where you just kick into what I call auto mode and you do what you gotta do. So it's on. I say, okay, what I'm thinking here, oh, we're riding now. I stay a little to the left of Mark as he drifts to the right and left. I'm staying over to the left to see what's happening. And so I'm in zone 4 right now, and that's what I talked about in a live session where I said you're still putting out 150 watts even though you're in zone 4, or you're putting out 250, like right now it's 100 and something. It's not so much the watts that you only have to look at. You have to look at your tolerance to tolerate those zones. So if I were not able to stay in this zone, it wouldn't matter that it's only 100 watts. You would get dropped at 100 watts here, because you just can't handle the zone. That's why you have to really have structure in the training and not depend on just one thing. Training is a science. So the same watt, I'm doing 80 something watts, but my heart rate's 167 beats per minute. So if you're not comfortable with that kind of high heart rate, you get dropped with a low wattage, because it's what your body's doing that you can't tolerate. I'll go ahead and run the credits here. I want to thank our sponsors and definitely our supporters and our channel members. Become a channel member on YouTube and support our content. Visit us on Veloharmony.com and take advantage of our services and products. So we're going hard here. This is Mike S5 pulling off. Hernan accelerates. So Mark has to accelerate. And I ride. Now this road's going up. So it's up and down, up and down. So as you see, heart rate went back up because the body had to do more work. So it doesn't matter what watt you're putting out. You can't depend on only that. You have to be able to tolerate those high zones that your body gets into when you start to work with repeated efforts. It's intervals. If you can't tolerate during intervals, you will get popped. If you can't put out 300 watts 20 times, you got problems. When that happens, when it calls for it. Every time the road goes up, we've got to put the power down. Look at the wattage, almost 500 watts. 390 right now. We're working here. In a little bit, Paul will let us go because he's like, I'm not going to, he told me, I didn't want to spend too much time in the red zone. You know, he hasn't been well. Mark hit the brakes there. You saw me hesitate. He hit the brakes. I think Hernan's pulling off the front. We're basically riding away from Paul. Paul let us go here. So the attacks were thick and fast. There were a lot of repeats, and it just keeps the effort high to where you stay in a high. Those are the dogs on the left I was talking about. They run, but they're in their fence. So once we get out of sight, Paul is back here by himself, and then Bob and Greg Schott are further back behind him. So what he does, he lets us go, and then he just keeps his pace close to his red line so he stays out of the red zone. We're probably maybe 15 or 20 seconds off the road, something like that. We're almost at the end of this road. This road has a nice Strava segment that people shoot for. But that's what you have to do, learn to stay within yourself. Paul figured he had been off the bike for 2 weeks. He had been sick during that time, and we're gonna be doing a long ride. There's no point in trying to let your ego take over. So right here, he's at the end. You will see the group turn. I'm already ahead, and I do a U-turn to come back because I was going to come back to check for Paul. That's the group there. I'm further ahead because I had pulled the last stretch. You see me turn, and you see me do a U-turn over there on the left. I just did a U-turn. Once I saw Paul, I did a U-turn. So this is what we did on Saturday. I hope you got a chance to go out. Make sure you get your K's in and keep those doctors fired.